After family reunion, I gave my mom a used car for her 45th birthday. She came up to the car and said, "Are you kidding me? Take the keys and let your cheap wife drive it." Mom's sisters giggled, and Dad stood pale. I just take the key. This day, my phone was exploding with 44 missed calls begging me to undo what I did. It all happened yesterday. I went to sleep thinking maybe it would blow over in the morning like some bad weather, but I was wrong. So wrong. This morning I woke up to 44 missed calls, 19 voicemails, 30 plus texts. The first thing I saw when I rolled over was my mom's name filling the screen over and over again. Then my aunt's. Then Tyler. I sat there staring for a second before the whole thing hit me again, like a slow-motion crash that finally caught up with me. Yesterday was my mother's 45th birthday. And it just happened to fall during this forced, healing, family reunion that none of us wanted, but everyone showed up to anyway because guilt is stronger than common sense in our family. 2 years ago, she pretty much declared Rachel, my wife, public enemy number one after I refused to fund my cousin Tyler's latest fake business. Rachel didn't even speak during the whole conversation, but my mom decided she was the puppet master pulling all the strings. It wasn't just any comment, either. It was a full-blown, family-destroying meltdown. She called Rachel cheap, phony, manipulative. And when my aunts joined in, it was like a pack of hyenas circling fresh meat. Rachel never fought back. Not that day. She just got up and walked out. But yesterday we showed up. Because in spite of everything, we're still the kind of people who show up. At least we were. I wanted to do something else. Not dramatic. Not flashy. Something real. Something that meant something. So I bought her a car. Not just any car, the exact model of the '87 Mercedes she drove when I was a kid. She loved that thing. She used to talk about how it made her feel like someone else, like she was bigger than our little town, like she had secrets. I found one in Oregon. $11,000. Pristine. Sent it out here, detailed it, tied a red ribbon on the hood. Didn't make a speech. Didn't rally the crowd. I just handed her the keys while people were still sipping their mimosas on the porch, pretending we were normal. She walked up to it, stared at it like it was a joke, then looked right at me. "Are you kidding me? Take the keys and let your cheap wife drive it." She said it so casually, like it wasn't even offensive, just a fact. Her sisters burst out laughing like it was an inside joke. Tyler recorded the whole thing. My dad, pale, silent, staring at a bush like he was rethinking life. I didn't say a word. Just took the keys, got in the car and drove away. Rachel didn't say anything either. She just followed me to our car, got in, and we drove away. Fast forward to this morning. The first voicemail I listened to was my mom, sobbing, saying she couldn't believe I embarrassed her like that on her birthday. The second was more aggressive. She accused me of ruining everything. The third was from Aunt Marlene, who said I needed to grow up and learn to take a joke. But here's what none of them know. For 3 years now, I've been the one quietly keeping their lives afloat. After my dad's hours were cut and their finances tanked, I started sending money to make ends meet. New appliances? Paid for by me. Their anniversary trip to Florida? My card. Spa packages, grocery bills, Tyler's emergency dental work me. Every month, no questions asked. I never told my mom. My dad knew, barely thanked me, but kept it quiet too. Keep the peace. Yesterday, after I drove the car home, I logged into the bank, shut everything down. Every transfer. Every joint account. Even the savings account I'd been quietly building for their property taxes. Gone. At noon, my dad texted. She's freaking out. The bank thinks it's fraud. I didn't tell them it was you. Then came my mom's message to Rachel. You got what you wanted. Hope the free ride was worth it, you cheap bitch. Rachel read it once, put the phone down, and asked for the spare keys to my mom's house. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just walked away. She came back an hour later. I slapped your mother, she said. Then she poured herself a cup of coffee and opened her laptop as usual. But that wasn't the end of it. Around 4 p.m., my dad showed up at our door. Alone. No car. He said Mom locked him out after she found out the money was gone and accused him of hiding it. She accused him of funneling money to some other woman. She's even called her lawyer. Apparently, she's filing to freeze his pension. And then, just when I thought we'd reached the limit of family chaos, my Aunt Lisa showed up crying, makeup smeared, with a suitcase in her trunk. "I left your uncle," she said. "I found out about the money. Your mom lied to us about where it came from. She said it was from her Etsy side business. I quit my job last year thinking I could do the same thing. Now I'm broke." She asked if she could crash with us, just for a few nights. Rachel's exact words? "Sleep in the car your sister doesn't want." So now it's late, everyone's gone, and I'm sitting here in the dark writing this because it's the only thing that feels like it makes sense. And tomorrow? Tomorrow could be even worse. At 8 a.m. today, the group chat I forgot I was still in, Fam Bam Forever, exploded like a detonated grenade. I only opened it because the notifications wouldn't stop. At first, it was just my mom's spamming voice. Messages full of sniffles and phrases like public betrayal, childish spite, and emotional abuse. Then Aunt Lisa dropped a message that simply said, "Cooper paid for your life, you ungrateful witch." I stared at it for a good minute. Apparently, when she came to my house last night, she hadn't just left her husband, she'd taken screenshots of their bank transfers and dropped the receipts into the chat. Years of quiet payments from me, discreetly labeled, but obviously not from my father. Furniture. Plane tickets. Even the down payment on my mom's wellness retreat last summer. Mom ignored it at first. Then she dropped a voice note so long it had to be split into 3 files. Her voice was shaking, as if someone had just told her the world was flat. She said she felt violated, like I'd kept her on a leash. Then she said something that made my blood boil. No real son would let his wife hit his own mother. That slap was domestic violence. At that point, Rachel walked into the room with her coffee, read the transcript over my shoulder, and just said, "Is she serious?" Then she pulled out her phone and replied to the group chat with a video. A video I didn't even know she had. It was from the reunion, filmed by Rachel, a quiet clip she took right after the car moment, before we left. It showed my mother standing in the driveway with her sisters, laughing, mocking the car, and then saying, "It's always been soft. But now it's broke too, let the poor thing pretend that this junkyard car is love." After that, nobody said a word in the chat for about an hour. And then, out of nowhere, Tyler texted, "Aunt Marlene says she's taking legal action if you don't give her the money back. She says her pool payment bounced." That's when it clicked. I wasn't just sending money to help my parents. At some point, and I still don't know how, my mother had given her sisters access to the account. Or maybe she'd funneled it. Either way, they were all living off it like it was some magical inheritance. So I called the bank again. Froze the account completely. Every cent left in there, about $3,000, was put into a holding fund in my name until we could figure out what the hell was going on. But then, around noon, my dad texted me something that really turned the day around. "I think your mom is getting lawyers involved. She thinks she can claim the car as community property." The car. The $11,000 Mercedes. She was going to try to take back the gift she publicly humiliated me over after I refused, and claim it as community property. Then Rachel laughed for the first time in 2 days. Really laughed. Then she said, "She's going to sue you for a car she said belonged in a junkyard." At 3 p.m. I got a call from a blocked number. I picked it up. It was my mom's lawyer. Or so he claimed. He said they were reviewing unauthorized transactions made over the course of 36 months and were considering fraud charges if I didn't return the money. I told him to go ahead and do it. I'd be happy to go to court and show the judge every payment, every receipt, every single dollar that kept her nails done and her vacations booked while she pretended my dad had a second career as a crypto wizard. Then I hung up. At 5:42, Rachel got another message. This time from Tyler. "I didn't know she gave Aunt Marlene your bank info. I'm sorry, man. She told me it was inheritance money." At 6:10, Aunt Marlene sent me a photo of herself crying in her kitchen in front of an empty pool that apparently couldn't be finished without my next payment. She said she didn't know my mother was lying. She said she thought the money was part of a trust I'd set up to help support the family. And I'm sitting here thinking, what kind of trust would keep paying for frozen pina coladas and nose jobs for women who called my wife trash? It's now 10:57 p.m. Rachel is asleep on the couch. I'm sitting here with a glass of whiskey, wondering how this is only day 2 of the fallout. And somehow I feel like it's just getting started. I didn't even get through my first cup of coffee this morning before things went sideways. It started with a knock on the door. I thought it was Amazon or maybe my dad coming to apologize again in person. But no. It was a police officer. He handed me a white envelope and said I was being served. I half laughed, thinking it was a joke. Until I opened it. Inside was a restraining order my mother had filed against Rachel. According to the paperwork, Rachel was now legally prohibited from being within 100 feet of my mother's residence, workplace, or places of peace. What does that even mean? Yoga studios? Day spas? The produce section? And the stated reason? Physical assault during an emotional crisis. I didn't tell Rachel right away. She was still asleep. I just stood there staring at the paper, trying to figure out if this was some kind of sick game. Then the text started again. Tyler, dude, did you really let her hit Aunt Janet? Aunt Marlene, you have no idea what you've done. Your mom can't sleep. She says she's scared for her life. Afraid. For her life. Of Rachel. A woman who once cried because she accidentally killed a spider in the bathtub. Then my father called at noon. He sounded upset. Like rattled, but also lighter. I moved out, he said. I'm in a motel. He told me that after the lawyer's call, things got out of hand. Mom threw his phone at the wall. She told him she was going to find a real man who wouldn't let her son humiliate her. When he told her the money was gone and there was no magical emergency fund, she packed a bag not for herself, but for him and left it on the porch. So he left. Took the car. Said he didn't even take a charger. Just left. And then he said something I wasn't expecting. You know that Etsy store she keeps bragging about? Yeah. She's not selling anything. Never has. Those packages she posts? They're all just empty boxes she sends to herself. I didn't even know what to say. It was just before 2 p.m. Rachel finally woke up and I told her about the restraining order. She didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just nodded and was quiet for a while. Then she went upstairs and started to pack. I panicked. I thought she was leaving me. I followed her and asked her what she was doing. She looked at me and said, I'm going to Arizona. Arizona? To see your grandmother. Now here's the thing. I haven't spoken to my grandmother, my mother's mother, in over a decade. My mother cut her off, claiming she was toxic, manipulative. A narcissist. Rachel had apparently been sneaking messages to her for months. I just wanted to know if maybe it runs in the family. She said. By 4 p.m., she was on a flight to Phoenix. I stayed behind, pacing my house like a trapped animal. I didn't know whether to be angry, scared, impressed, or just laughing at how far off the rails everything had gone in 48 hours. And then came the email. From a local news station. Subject line. Follow-up request. Family dispute involving local businesswomen. I opened it. Apparently, my mother had given an interview to a lifestyle reporter, someone she knew through a yoga friend, and spun the whole thing into a cautionary tale of domestic abuse, financial manipulation, and family betrayal. She called herself a survivor. She used phrases like financial entrapment and physical intimidation. There was a picture of her in a silk robe, holding a cup of tea, looking out the window as if grieving at a funeral. It hadn't been published yet. The reporter said they wanted my side before they went live. My mother made herself the star of a tragedy she wrote and directed. It's now 11:19 p.m. I haven't replied. I haven't eaten. Rachel has just landed in Arizona. She texted me one sentence. She said your mom once tried to fake a seizure at a funeral to get attention. I'm beginning to realize this isn't just about a slap on the wrist, or a car or money. This is about someone who has written the story of her life and ours like a script, where she's always the victim and we're all just extras. But not anymore. I didn't sleep last night. I sat in the kitchen in the dark, looking at the email from the journalist on my laptop, rereading Rachel's text about my grandmother. It was quiet. Way too quiet. My life used to feel manageable. Like even when things were hard, at least they made sense. But now I was watching it fall apart in high definition. At 7:03 my phone rang. It was Rachel. She sounded awake, like fully alert, which was weird considering she'd just flown across the country. I asked if she was okay, and she said, better than okay. She told me everything. She being my grandmother, the one my mother swore was toxic, unstable, a liar. Apparently none of that was true. Or at least not the way my mother said it was. Rachel had spent all night with her, drinking coffee and going through old diaries and letters. My mother hadn't cut off her mother because she was toxic. She'd cut her off because she'd been caught forging her signature on documents related to a family trust. A trust that I never knew existed. A trust where I'm listed. That's when everything turned around. Because suddenly it wasn't just about drama or ego. It was about money. And my mom had built her entire fake identity around a glamorous, independent success, but she was actually pulling strings from a trust fund that no one was supposed to know she'd been manipulating. Including me. By 10 a.m., Rachel had already met with a Phoenix attorney who specialized in elder financial abuse. By noon, my grandmother had signed a sworn statement. My mother had been withdrawing from the trust not just for herself, but for her sisters and hiding the withdrawals under bogus medical expenses. This was felony-level stuff. And then it got better. Tyler texted me, "Dude, your mom used my name to get a car lease." Turns out my mom co-signed for a luxury SUV 2 years ago using Tyler's name and social. He thought she was just helping him with the down payment, but she was actually using him to raise her credit score high enough to qualify. And when he went to trade it in this morning, the dealership told him the loan wasn't even paid off and it was in his name. That same hour, Aunt Lisa, the one who showed up crying with the suitcase, texted Rachel and asked if she could help her get a restraining order against my mom. She said that after she left my uncle, she realized that my mom had been gaslighting her for years, telling her that she couldn't survive on her own, that she'd never be more than a shadow. Stuff like that. The whole damn family unraveled. But not for her this time. And then my father called again. He said he'd met with a divorce lawyer that morning and was getting ready to file. Not just for divorce but for retroactive spousal support. Apparently, since he technically earned less than her on paper, thanks to my hidden wire transfers, he's entitled to back pay. He sounded calm. Confident. Like a man who'd been underwater for 30 years and finally surfaced. The best part? He told her. Told her everything. He told my mom that I was the one who paid her bills. That her mystery income wasn't magic or luck or hard work, it was her son, the one she called soft, the one whose wife she insulted in front of everyone. And according to him, she didn't take it well. She threw a vase. Said she felt violated. Said she was going to sue me for emotional sabotage. At 6 p.m., the lifestyle journalist emailed again. "I just talked to your Aunt Lisa. We're working on the piece. She gave us a lot of background. Let me know if you want a final quote." So yes. That soft, quiet little article my mother was trying to float about surviving her villainous daughter-in-law? It turned into a full-blown exposé. With receipts. Witnesses. Screenshots. Rachel came back tonight. We ate Thai food in silence, not because we were angry, but because we were both exhausted from how quickly things were unfolding. At 9:42 p.m., my mom finally texted me directly. For the first time since she gave me the car keys. She just said, "I hope you're proud of destroying your family." I didn't reply. Because for the first time in a long time, I am proud. Not of the chaos, but of finally putting an end to the story she's been writing for everyone else. And tomorrow? Tomorrow it all goes public. Today was the day it all ended. Not with a big courtroom moment, or a screaming match in a driveway. It ended the way people like my mom hate the most, quietly, permanently, and without an audience clapping for them. The article fell at 8:02 a.m. Title: "The Woman Who Was Never Broke, Inside the Hidden Web of Family Deception and Financial Control." It was brutal. And honest. My grandmother did a full interview. So did Aunt Lisa. Even Tyler went on the record about the car lease, how my mom used his name to secure her loan and nearly ruined his credit without his knowledge. There were screenshots, bank records, even excerpts from emails she sent to her yoga group calling Rachel a manipulative little stray dog my son dragged home. The quote that closed the article? Mine. I gave everything I had to help the people who raised me. I thought I was being a good son. Turns out I was just paying rent to a woman who thought motherhood was a performance. I didn't look at social media, but I didn't have to. Within an hour, I had texts from people I hadn't heard from in years. Friends. Extended cousins. Even my boss. One message simply said, "About time." Around noon, my dad texted me from his motel room. She saw the article. She hasn't said a word in hours. And then this. She asked me if it was too late to take it all back. He said he didn't answer. He just went outside and smoked a cigarette he hadn't touched in 10 years. By afternoon, her sisters had gone dark. One deleted her Instagram, the other posted a story that said, "Some people are just jealous of strong women." No one replied. Around 4:30 I got a call. Unknown number. It was her. She didn't say hello. Just started talking. Said I embarrassed her. Said I ruined her life. Said Rachel poisoned me. Said she could have handled it differently. But you forced my hand. I just let her talk. No interruptions. No emotion. And then I said, "You made every decision. You wrote the script." I just stopped playing the part. Silence. Then I said, "I'm blocking this number. Don't contact me again." And I hung up. I did it. After 33 years, I ended the story. Not with revenge. Not with violence. Just with the truth. Rachel and I ordered pizza and sat on the floor. We didn't celebrate. We didn't toast. We just existed in the peace that followed someone finally being told, no, for the first time in their life. And as for my mom, she'll have to live in the silence. She created no audience, no script, no spotlight. Just herself. Just the way she made sure it would end. Update: the final curtain, posted 3 days later. Hey Reddit. Thought I'd come back with an update since a few of you messaged asking how it all ended after the article dropped. Fasten your seatbelts, because this last part might be the quietest, coldest ending to a storm I've ever seen. First of all, thank you to the people who reached out with genuine empathy. I wasn't expecting anything when I posted, I just needed to get it out of my system. I didn't think my inbox would fill up with strangers saying they'd been through something similar. Wild. So, the aftermath? It's done. Not settled. Not smoothed over. Done. The article blew through town like a tornado. The local lifestyle blog that ran it? Picked up by 2 bigger outlets in the state. They loved the angle of this perfect suburban matriarch, secretly living off her adult son while slandering his wife and lying to half the family. They even had a podcast episode taped about it within 48 hours. Mom shut down everything: social networking, phone, email. My dad officially filed for divorce the morning after the article. His lawyer sent over the papers and apparently she didn't even contest them. She just signed them and mailed them back. Her yoga studio dropped her. Not because of the drama, they're used to drama, but because the receipts in the article proved she forged a donation in someone else's name to claim a tax write-off. Tyler filed fraud charges on the car lease. His credit took a hit, but he got a real lawyer involved and it's being investigated. My Aunt Lisa moved in with a friend and took a part-time job at some library. She says it's peaceful. Like detox for the soul. She's also had no contact with Mom for the first time in her life. Rachel? She's glowing. She hasn't said much, but she's free in a way I haven't seen her in years. She anonymously donated the slap video to the reporter and hasn't looked back. We're planning a trip, just the 2 of us, somewhere boring and quiet and far away from all this. Oh, and my grandma? She added Rachel as her healthcare proxy and changed her will. I'm not even listed in it anymore, and I'm okay with that. Rachel deserves it more. She held this family together more in 2 weeks than I ever could in 3 decades. And my mom? She's still at the house, alone. Dad told me she started going back to her maiden name, like dropping the family name will erase what happened. I doubt she will leave town. People like her never leave, they just rebuild smaller stages. But no one is watching anymore. The group chat hasn't seen a message since the article. The family dinners are over. The performances are over. She always wanted the spotlight. Now all she has is the echo. That's it. That's the end.